I want you to picture a terrible sight, and that sight is George Lucas remaking Star Wars 4, 5, and 6. Now, back in the early 70s and 80s, he had talent, but I want you to imagine that if George Lucas still had his rights to Star Wars, he announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to remake Star Wars A New Hope, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, and Star Wars Return of the Jedi, because, well, I just want to remake it." Fans alike would go crazy. All hell would break loose if George Lucas announced that he was going to remake the original trilogy. Just look at the prequels. Look what happened there. And I know many people can agree with me on this, is that remakes of films, for the most part, usually turn out shitty. Look at the new Total Recall movie. The original Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at the new Total Recall compared to it now. It just sucks. Hollywood likes to take films that maybe were successful and then remake it. And we usually know how that goes. Look at the original 1980s The Thing by John Carpenter. Now, I realize the new Thing movie was a prequel, but Hollywood got a hold of the Thing, and they wanted to make a prequel to that of the original Thing, which turned out to be absolute shit. Remakes, or for the most part even prequels, usually suck. Look at Matrix. The first Matrix movie was excellent. Look at what happened to the second movie. Look what happened to the third movie. Do I need to go on? A lot of films that usually were really good when they first came out, when a remake or a Hollywood gets a hold of that or tries to make it into something more or continue the series, like The Matrix, which was one of my favorite movies, and then they made the two other shitty things, it usually sucks. That's my point. But today I want to tell you that Evil Dead, the remake, Evil Dead, did not suck. In fact, it blew my expectations out of the water. Now, granted, when I heard that Sam Raimi was going to be behind the project, I was like, that's amazing! Yes, yes, yes! It's going to be good! And then I heard that Bruce Campbell was going to be in it. I was even more excited. I'm like, yes, 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 it's going to be excellent! But I was still worried that it was still not going to meet my expectations simply because it's a remake. And I guess it's bad to kind of go off of all my experiences, but in my film experiences and movies that I've seen, remakes just usually don't turn out really good. So when I sat down to watch this, I was scared to myself, thinking, please be as good as the original. Please be as fun. Please bring in humor. Please bring in violence. Please bring in all the elements which made the original Evil Dead. And all I can say is that Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and I forgot the director's name, something with an F, did a fantastic job. The acting was superb. The story was excellent. I mean, if you know the Evil Dead story, the whole movie is kind of over the top, but let me tell you that this film, I think, is what a horror film should be like. Too often in films, specifically the area of horror films, we get these stupid jump scares. It's predictable. I mean, look at the Paranormal Activity movies. Those are such bullshit. Paranormal Activity 1 was a bit creepy, but then they made 2, then they made 3, now they're making 4, now they're making 5, now they're making 6, they're gonna have Paranormal 69 coming up pretty soon. It's just on and on and on. Hollywood takes something that may have been relatively okay or good the first time, and they fuck it up. That's usually what happens within the Hollywood film industry. That's what I've seen. And this didn't happen with Evil Dead, and I was so happy when I watched this. I want to be honest, though, is that if you have a weak stomach, you probably won't want to watch this, because this film turned out a lot more gory and violent than I expected. I expected violence. I expected gore, but not like this. And what I loved is that even during some of the most cringiest scenes, where I was kind of like, ugh, I have a strong stomach, I didn't throw up or anything, people were actually closing their eyes in the movie theater, like, oh my god. There was a couple scenes that actually kind of had me kind of like, oh man, that looked painful. But it was well done. What really made me love this remake even more was how it kept with the original in terms of, like, almost everything. It had great cinematography, great shots, great claustrophobic shots that just are really, really creepy. And then on top of that, they use all natural effects. No CGI. Because remember when the prequel, The Thing movie said, oh, we're going to make the prequel of The Thing, we're going to use animatronics to keep to the original. Because the original John Carpenter, The Thing, didn't have any animation. It was all animatronics. It was all natural effects. And for me, that the Thing was so much scarier that way. And Evil Dead did exactly that. And that's what I loved about it. It was so original to the original remake that it was great. I can't stress to you how amazing this film was. It was violent, gory, humorous, and by all means, always use duct tape. That fixes everything. If you've seen the movie, you'll know my reference. I'm not going to spoil the plot for you, but I would just like to say that I love how the film made you think that someone was it, and then it wasn't it. Overall, this movie was great. When it started, it didn't let up, and that's why I loved it. This was the only film that I've watched that actually had me so tense that I was actually my hands were sweating in the theater from watching it. That's how intense I was, because I love films that once they start, they don't stop until the very end, and Evil Dead does exactly that. It will keep you on edge of your seat, and I guarantee you it will most likely make you at least cringe or say, "Oh!" It will do that. If I was to give this film a rating, I would have to give it a 5 out of 5. The acting was superb. I absolutely love Jane Levy. She's my new favorite actress among Jennifer Lawrence. If I could give Jane Levy the biggest warm hug, I would totally do it, and I would love to make her babies, as Bob the Zombie said earlier. If you are a fan of the original Evil Dead 1 or 2, much less Army of Darkness, then you will appreciate this film just as much as I did. And by all means, if you're going to go see the new Evil Dead movie, make sure to stay all the way till the end of the credits. Groovy.